Okay, people. So we have a directorial debut from Shelley Thompson, right? She wrote and directed Dawn, Her Dad, and the Tractor. Okay, so she also produced the film along with Terry Greenlaw. It was executive produced by Carol Whitman. Music is from Scott McMillan. Cinematography was handled by Kevin A. Frazier and Frank Adam Novak. It was edited by Amy Mikkel. Production design was Laura McNutt. Costume design was Denise Barrett. Makeup was Morgan Menk. Art was handled by Ralph Hudson. Um, on the sound was James Bestable, Jesse Fellows, Martin Gwynn Jones, Bianca Monterio, and Brian Power. Okay, so the gist. Oh, our cast. Boy. Well, we have Dawn, who is played by Maya V. Henry. Her sister Tammy is played by Amy Groening. Tammy's fiance is Byron is played by Reed Price. Their dad, John Andrew, is played by Robb Wells. We then have Jerry, who helps John Andrew out on the farm. He is played by Hans Bogold. We have got Jenny, who helps out Dawn and a family friend. She's played by Francine Deshepa. We have Banyu, who she works in the coffee shop. She's played by Brenton Brenton Lamar. Her boss, Ethan, is played by Richie Wilcox. And then there's Marty, played by Taylor Olson. So, yes, that is our cast, the main people, right? Now, the gist of the film is this: when a young woman with a startling resemblance to John Andrews' wife Miranda appears days before her funeral, John Andrew MacGinnis begins an odyssey towards understanding. His son Donald is now Dawn, home to mourn her mother and repair the estrangement with her dad. An ancient tractor becomes a focus for the mechanically minded Dawn, but John Andrews' long simmering resentment about the tractor heighten family tensions. As they restore the family tractor, Dawn and her dad cautiously rebuild their relationship and come to understand the mechanics of the heart. Okay. Well, so the film starts off, right? And like it has a very nice open, right? We see a girl on the train who, I think that you figure that must be Dawn, right? Because, as far as you're aware, the film is about Dawn, her dad, who we also see kind of walking around the house looking forlorn, and a tractor. So you make some assumptions, but there's some nice music, there's these scenic views, it's a nice open. But we then have a girl in a car with a dude, and you're like, who the fuck are these? Right? Pulls up at the house, then the dude we saw in the house come out, and you're like, hold on, who? And he's like, hey, Tammy. And you're like, oh, there's another girl in the film. And you start to, figure things out. Dawn then arrives, right? There's a bit of shock. There's a bit of shock, right? Because no one knew. No one knew she was transitioning. So yeah, it catches people off guard. And so we have like you know, them trying to work all of this out. But I think it also stems from Dawn disappearing years back, right? So I think people thought she just ran out. And so, yeah, they were pissed at that. And now when Dawn returns, it's a bit like, yo, what's going on? What the bug? What's the deal? So we have all of this, and then, you know, small town, right? The issues that come with that, with people in small towns not really being around a mix of people oftentimes, right? So people get stuck in their ways and expecting certain things, you know what I mean, to be a certain way, and it doesn't always go well, right? So we see all of this. There is blossoming relationships. There are, you know, relationships getting healed, you know, and then there's just accepting people, right? So you have all of this kaleidoscope of things coming to a head in the film. So there, like, I enjoyed the film. Like, there is moments of it that kind of felt a bit like last year's Cowboy, which, I mean, how good was fucking Cowboy, people, right? If you haven't seen it, people, you need to go see it. Now, Dawn, her dad on a tractor, it's not as good as Cowboy, right? But there's parts of it that kind of, yeah, invoke that sort of emotional attachment. And the emotional parts of this film, that's where it really, you know what I mean, roars. That's where it stands up proud, and it works so well. You know what I mean? We have some of these little conversations, some of the conversations between Dawn and Tammy really work nicely, you know? But some things don't necessarily work. I mean, they go super heavy on the emotional music. You know what I mean? Like, oh, in all the big moments, there's a, you know what I mean? This is how we want you to feel. A little soundtrack going on. And you're just like, yo, you need to chill with the fucking music because there's so much of it. And it's just like, it doesn't allow you to fully immerse in the moment, right? Because you have this fucking music trying to dictate to you, this is your feeling right now. And yeah, I don't know. That shit might not irritate everyone. I understand. Listen, you know, motherfuckers, it's a bugbear of mine, right? So it might not affect other people, but it's there. It is there. Some other things, like some of the conversation, some of the dialogue isn't the best. You know, a lot of there's scenes where there's phone calls, right? And the phone calls all, they don't feel like phone calls. They all feel a little bit false. You know, like, hi, is that my accountant? I just wanted to check something. And it's just like, yo, what's happening here? You know what I mean? You kind of get the sense that there was no one on the other end of that. And it was just like, pretend you're talking to someone and they're just really, you know, trying, but it's just not working. So there's that. There's also like trying to get the impact of transphobia and acceptance. So there's some of these scenes really don't work very well, you know, like it's just a bit too forced, you know, because I think there's always going to be little slip ups, especially when you don't know, like if you're used to someone being a certain way and then you see them differently, like there's going to be a few mix ups, right? It's one of, like, you know, if someone gets married and their surname changes, right? You're gonna call them by the old surname for a little while. So, you know, Obviously, there's differences, people, but it's a bit like that. And it's just like every situation was, no, this is who I am. This is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, I understand, right? I understand that there is mad bigotry, right? There's a lot of characters in this film that were bigots, right? That not good. But I think there was no gray area here. So everything was either this or it was either that. You know what I mean? And I thought that sometimes it played like super just, you know, which was you know, a little bit. And then, you know, like the whole relationship that they put in here seemed to come out of nowhere, right? And I think that was one of the things. There was things that happened where there was no real build up to. They were just like, boom, this is now a thing. Boom, this is now a thing. You know, and it's just like, yo, where's the build up to this, man? Like there was a scene where Dawn's like, oh, I help you in the morning, Dad. And he's like, no, no, I can do it on my own. And then we jump to the morning and everyone's going out to work. And it was just like, okay, but we left it as a hard no. So what happened to change this? Do you know what I mean? Where was that? And I think that's one of the big things, that we lost some of that transitional material, right? It's like, you know, when you're building a house, right? Building a wall, you need the mortar to hold it all together. Otherwise, you just got bricks, and with a gust of wind, that shit's blowing down. You know what I mean? A huff and a puff, right? Said the big bad wolf. So there's times in the film where it felt, where's the mortar? Right? We got the bricks, but where's the mortar, people? You know? So that was a problem. And I did find the end a little bit, like, I'd say anticlimactic, but it was just like we had all of these situations, right? If you're showing this hatred, this transphobia, just all of these things, and then the end, like with no conclusion to a thing, and you're just like, okay. But your whole film is kind of showing this journey, and you know, the growth to acceptance and all of this, but then you leave it on that note. Like, it seemed a weird thing not to have a conclusion to this situation, right? And then also, yeah, I kind of get that you want to show the reversal of thought around this other thing, but it just wasn't it wasn't very impressive. So it's just like, yo, that's the big thing. That's the big thing you've been talking about all fucking film. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, come on, man. But again, that might just be me. But this is the thing, right? This is what I say. I did enjoy the film, right? It was just there were these things that kind of held it back a little bit, right? That took away from, I think, the potential it had, which was a little shame. Was a little bit of shame. Some of the acting isn't always the best. Like, yeah, when you're dealing with certain things, you know what I mean? You need an emotional balance. And it was just sometimes that, you know, Maya v. Henry, like, she was fine, but the emotional range, it just seemed a little bit limited. So you didn't get the same layered effect as when Amy Groening, you know what I mean, came with her shit, right? So there was just a little bit of that. But yeah, on the whole, people, It's a decent little flick. You know, it's Thompson's directorial debut, so it'll be interesting to see how she progresses from this. But people, there you go. Like, if you like, you know what I mean, this kind of journey type of film, you know what I mean, this emotional, this yeah, watershed moment in life, as it were, then maybe Dawn, her dad, and the tractor is going to